Okay.
All right. Well, I want to take this time to welcome you to the Coping with COVID-19 webinar series. My name is Michelle B. I am the head of content for Henry Health, and I will be your moderator for today's session, Discovering Wellness Practices to Reduce Anxiety and Stress. So next slide. So today's session is brought to you by Henry Health, and I'll be sharing more about Henry Health in just a moment. The Coping with COVID series is to focus on ways for us to discover new opportunities to engage in wellness practices to reduce anxiety and stress. Today we'll be dedicating this session to providing you with awareness of anxiety-provoking situations and uncovering areas of stress within a person's life. After completing this webinar, participants will effectively identify areas of stress and anxiety in their personal life. Participants will have several tools to address stress and anxiety in a healthier manner. So a little more about Henry Health. Henry Health is a disruptive platform created to arrest the toxic stress, depression, and anxiety killing too many Black men too soon. Our digital community provides self-mastery support and culturally sensitive teletherapy to Black men so they can show up whole, operate with joy, and live with power. So as we move forward with today's session, I want to go over a few housekeeping things. Your microphones have been muted and will be unmuted for the questions and answer part of the webinar. We also have some other amazing opportunities for engagement where you'll be able to talk with others about anxiety and stress. But when we have other people speaking, we ask that you mute yourself if you are not speaking to give the speaker a clear and open line to speak. The chat feature is available for communication, and it's also available for questions. Please be respectful and brief so we can get to everyone's questions. So now I have the honor of introducing today's speaker. Today's speaker is Dr. Rufus Tony Spann, and he's the Chief Clinical Officer for Henry Health. Dr. Spann is an assistant professor at the University of Southern California in the Masters of School Counseling program. Dr. Spann provides relaxation and meditation therapy to his clients. Dr. Spann is in the final process of becoming a Reiki master. He is a nationally certified school psychologist, a master addiction counselor, and a nationally certified counselor, associate psychologist, and a licensed clinical professional counselor in Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia. So it is without any further delay that we will get this show on the road. Dr. Spann, I hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. I was going to say thank you, for doing the introduction. And I was doing a little bit of troubleshooting on the side. It seems like we were working through some sound and audio, but I think we're getting everybody comfortable into the room. And I want to say thank you for everybody that's here and present as we start to build in more people into the room. And but we're going to get the show on the road. So what we look at Henry Health, we have a three-step framework. Within this three-step framework, we look at define, acknowledge, and adjust. And so for us, it's so important to think about that because it helps us to give us this guided flow during this time. So let me keep going. So I want to start off by a wellness check, and this helps us to bring people into the room, but it also allows for us to use the chat feature as we go along. And so Michelle is going to be supportive in helping me go through the process of answering questions or looking at what's going on in the chat feature, and I'll do that as well. But the first question for the wellness check, what feelings have you experienced since the impact of COVID-19? So the question is, what feelings have you experienced since the impact of COVID-19? So as you're writing in the chat box, I'm going to continue, and Michelle will be helping me along with that, all right? So stress and coping. So stress is a physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes body or mental tension. And so right now, I think we're all noticing like this mental, physical tension that we're experiencing. And it's pretty daunting for us right now because we don't know what's going to happen or what's next, because we're seeing that things are changing by the minute. So the outbreak of the coronavirus disease 2019 may be stressful for people. Stress during an infectious disease outbreak can include many things. So just to hit a couple of them: fear and worry about your own health and health of loved ones, change in sleep or eating patterns, difficulty sleeping or concentrating, worsening of chronic health problems, worsening of mental health conditions, and increased use of alcohol and tobacco and drugs. Michelle, what are some things that we're seeing from the chat box?
So I think everyone is striking the anxiety chord in one way or another, as worry, panic, anxiety, fear, also uncertainty, concern, sadness. So all of the things you just mentioned, I think sadness is the addition to that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're bringing in the sadness, because we're now seeing loss of life that's closer to our inner circles, our extended families, and particularly looking at what does that look like for people of color, for Black men, and those that may have pre-existing issues that are already in their life, and some of the disparities within health. So continuing on that traumatic stress, we're looking at how traumatic stress is a normal reaction to a traumatic event, such as COVID-19. And we're seeing like there's this major shift globally on one singular event that has caused large mass levels of sickness, death, and where people are grieving and going a grief and loss process, a loss of job, or massive layoffs that we've seen, isolation, which in tune is with social distancing, economic hardships, where if we think about some of the financial burdens that come along with the loss, or the economic commerce of the different changes are impacting us with anxiety and stress. And then loss of normal social routines, where if you were used to maybe having happy hour, being with friends, or some other kind of event, that's totally been changed. So we're going to continue with the next partner in crime, which is anxiety. So anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. So particularly thinking about COVID-19, we're not sure of the outcome. We're not sure what's the day-to-days that come along with it. So that's the uneasiness that comes along with being in an experience, as well as not having experienced something like this at all before. And what does that mean? So feeling restless, wound up or on edge, being easily fatigued, having difficulty concentrating, mind going blank, being irritable, having muscle tensions. These are all problems that come along with anxiety. Difficulty controlling feelings of worry, which is probably number one on that list. And then having sleeping problems such as difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or restlessness during this time. So what I'd like to do is go to the next one. So anxiety during COVID-19, here are some anxiety provoking factors that come along with this. So fear of becoming sick, injured, or hurt. Right now, we know that the hospitals are full of dealing with other issues and patients that may have COVID-19. So some people are fearful of going to the hospital or getting sick right now. And the other fear of being sick is actually being sick with COVID-19. Food supply running low or out, where there was a hoarding situation or scarcity effect that was happening with our grocery stores. So imagining that feeling and walking in a grocery store and it being just like you're in a movie, and what that means to like survival and the fight or flight that goes on with our body, and the feelings that come along with that. So feeling of being stuck inside. And so I tell sometimes my client, I'm like, there's not 60 feet of snow in front of your door, is there? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, it's okay to walk outside if you need to get some fresh air. But there's a lot of people feel there's a reduction of options, feeling like, okay, I've ran out of the 20, 30, 40 things I can do at home. What do I do now? And not feeling like they can go to their normal option of maybe going to the movies, right? Continuous change and stability, obsessing over endless coronavirus coverage, chaotic home environment, change in work routine, managing life and work. As we mentioned before, the loss of family, friends, and loved ones, financial burdens that come along with how do you pay your bills? How do you make sure if you're running a small business or a large business, how do you make sure those day-to-days continue to happen and make sure that you have food coming in or that you're able to maintain just a particular lifestyle that you've been living? And last, when will this end, or is this the end? So that looming feeling that comes along with this entire process. So what I want to do is have a quick break. And in doing the quick break, I want us to see if we can do a quick breakout. So the breakout itself will only be 6 minutes. In the breakout, all you have to do is mention your name and location if you want to. You don't have to. But the main thing is one thing you have done to support your wellness during this time. So what we're going to do is, so as we can continue on, what we have next with Henry Health is we have something called Acknowledge. So we went through the define. We defined anxiety, we defined stress, traumatic stress, and now we're looking at Acknowledge. So for Acknowledge, I always like to give this kind of quote. And so it's scan your life, scan your body, scan your mind. So look out for these common signs of distress: feelings of numbness, disbelief, anxiety, or fear, changes in appetite, energy, activity levels, difficulty concentrating, difficulty sleeping, physical reactions, worsening of chronic health problems, anger or short temper, increased use of alcohol, tobacco, or drugs. And so we do know that there's been the shift in where a lot of places have closed down. However, they have the alcohol stores still open. I don't know intentions or the reasons behind that, but I'm sure there is something about having that kind of alcohol available. But main thing is that being very mindful of the use of that because it is not as essential as they're trying to make it seem. But at the same time, we don't want people to start drinking away their worries or their pains or their anxiety. There's other things that you can do. So I wanted to get into Acknowledge with stress and the body. So if we think about how these parts of our bodies are affected by anxiety and stress, we can talk about how we can use different techniques to address those parts of our body. For an example, central nervous system and endocrine system. Your central nervous system is in charge of your fight or flight, and we experience that really right now constantly into all kinds of responses. However, adrenaline and cortisol are released during this time. When you have prolonged exposure to cortisol, it can actually be harmful to your organs and muscles. And so when we think about individuals or people or even us right now that are having that prolonged stress, we have to be very mindful and careful that we're not allowing for that to actually do detrimental harm to our body. Digestive system. Under stress, your liver produces extra blood and sugar, which that's the glucose, to give you a boost of energy. If you're under chronic stress, your body may not be able to keep up with the extra glucose surge. Also, the rush of hormones and rapid breathing and increased heart rate can also upset your digestive system. Now, as I said before, this is all going to come together. So be mindful about each one of these topics. So that's your central nervous system, digestive system. Now let's go into the muscular system. Your muscles tense up to protect themselves from injury when you're stressed. They tend to release again once you relax. But if you're constantly under stress, your muscles may not get the chance to relax. And that's actually really important that you think about that. If you're feeling tense and your body feels like it's very tight, that's probably because you're not allowing your muscles to relax. So that's the psychosomatic, the mind not allowing the muscles to relax from that charge. And last but not least, the immune system. Over time, stress hormones will weaken your immune system and reduce your body's response to foreign invaders. People under chronic stress are more susceptible to viral illness. So we have to be very mindful about that right now. So here's another wellness check. What is something fun you have done during this time? And I know some people are like, fun, is that something I can do? I know people are doing tons of fun things. What is something fun that you can do right now or that you have done? And so let's see what's going on in the chat box with that. We'll let some discussions come out. What are some fun things that you have done during this cards? The old faithful, playing cards. That'll always do it. And we'll let some more come in, and I'll go on to this next slide, and then I'll check back in with Michelle. So just throw out some more that you're thinking about. All right, so when we think about adjusting is so important to dealing with stress, dealing with anxiety, and dealing with coping with COVID. All right, so we have to think about the mind, a healthy mind and support. So ways to keep a healthy mind or to deal with a healthy mind is focus on things you can control, positive self-talk. So if that's talking yourself through, I will get through this, just for today, I will focus on me dealing with what's going on. Being grateful. being grateful for the things that we do have, being mindful of that. Actually, being grateful is a very strong technique on helping with reducing stress and anxiety. Positive affirmations. I am here. I am okay. I am valued. Relax your mind often. I tell people, relax, relax, relax. It's not easy, but you have to try to relax during this time. So stay calm and carry on, which was a slogan that came out of World War II. And thinking about that time, it really looked like the world was ending, but stay calm and carry on. Positive imagery, thinking about that trip that you were going to go to, which would have been Bali, but you didn't get to go, which was me. Give yourself a break often, like allow yourself to have breaks and feel okay about that, not feel like you're punishing yourself for self-guilt. Laugh. I love laughter. And so I look for comedy movies to watch. Hopefully that's something that other people do. If you want to put that in the chat box, a movie that you've been watching. For me, it's Harlem Nights. Music. I've been playing Frankie Beverly and Maze in my house all the time because it reminds me of the family reunion. It reminds me of my family. It reminds me of good times. Count to 10 or count the colors in the room. That's another way of dealing with anxiety. So count to 10. If you hit 10 and you feel like you still need more, count beyond that, or count the colors in the room. Now, me, I only have 2 or 3 colors, so that doesn't really happen too much for me. But for others, you may have a bunch of colors. Count them. Helps to distract the mind and get you off of this. Seek help or support. So seek a therapist if needed. Seek financial relief if needed. And talk it out with a friend or a loved one. These ways of dealing with stress and trying to work through this helps with the central nervous system and the immune system, because it helps us to reduce the anxiety, reduce the stress. It helps to release endorphins, relax the muscles. And so that's where it's very helpful. Now, Michelle, I wanted to ask you, what are some things that we're seeing in the chat box?
Oh, this is a live bunch. I love it. We have virtual brunch with friends, virtual happy hours, recorded a YouTube tutorial for how to make a face shield, organized a family reunion on Zoom, tiny desk concert. I love those.
I love those too.
Creating inspiring and motivational playlists. So there's some of the music again. My friends went on the spring break in their living room and the bathtub was the jacuzzi. Hey.
Cool. Cool. And that's too crazy. But I love that because I think anything that allows for you to laugh, to get out of the moment, zen out, just be happy, do something creative, I think that's all dope. So please continue to do that. I also get into Tiny Desk Concert, and that's why I really got onto Lizzo. If you ever listen to her Tiny Desk Concert, it is amazing because you really get to hear her voice in a way that I've never heard it before, really live and raw. So let's talk about rhythm and flow. So rhythm is the movement. How do you get into a movement? So dance to your favorite song or learn a new dance. So I've been dancing to Frankie Beverly and Maze. I got it on an LP, so it's on replay all the time. So I'm in here dancing. March in place, that's if you don't have like a lot of space and you can't really go places. Kind of march in place to just give that whole body movement. If you kind of do it gently and it doesn't have to be too firm. Jumping jacks, simple things you can do in your house. Walk up and down the stairs if you have the ability to walk up and down the stairs. Just be careful. Don't do anything that can hurt yourself. But in the end, try to do 30 to 75 minutes a day of some kind of exercise, cardio, some movement that allows just your body to feel free and then to actually do some breathing along with that. Get into a flow. That is the zone. So mindfulness. See, this is something that people say all the time. Oh, I'm a mindful person. It's like, let's talk about really what it is to be mindful. That is when you concentrate on the present. So anxiety sometimes has been said if you think too far into the future, future-oriented thinking. So mindfulness brings you centered back to the present. And so you really have to be understanding what that means for you because it looks different for different people. But we'll talk about some exercise to help with that. Things else you can do to get into the zone is to block out negative thoughts. You can color or paint, or they have tons of things you can do to color or paint. Mindful walking. So William was saying he goes on a 4 to 5 mile walk every day. Now, if you want to combine that with mindfulness, you can mindfully walk. That's where you concentrate on the ball of your foot and then the toes hitting the ground, and you concentrate on your breathing. So as you're walking mindfully, you'll concentrate on the ball of your foot and then the pressure going into the toes, and you're walking with a mindfulness and breathing with mindfulness, and you're concentrating on your actual walking. But for some of these other exercises, try it for 3 to 5 minutes at home. But for the walking, for like William's doing a 4 to 5 mile walk. I'm sure he has a lot of time to do mindfulness. These techniques can help with muscular system and immune system. So let's talk about some simple breathing exercises, particularly for those that you're in your house, you're thinking about what I can do. Here's some things that you can do. For the simple breathing exercises, you can sit in a chair. Maybe you can sit in what is considered the lotus position, which is kind of like having your legs folded, or you can be in another position, maybe just lying down on your back. One, you want to make sure that you inhale slowly. You deeply breathe through your nose. Keep your shoulders relaxed and exhale slowly through your mouth. As you blow air out, purse your lips slightly, but keep your jaw relaxed. So the whole technique is to have that movement and relaxation in your jaw, taking in the breath and the oxygen down to your diaphragm, and concentrating on your in-breath and your exhale. And try that for 2 to 3 minutes. You should see some relaxation in your muscles. You should see some changes in how you feel. In addition to those, there's progressive relaxation, where it's like if you were to take your hands and squeeze them and then relax. You may squeeze your toes and then relax. And then maybe push your shoulders up and then you relax. And so that's that progressive relaxation where you're pushing your muscles, tensing your muscles, and allowing them to relax. Now here's another cool one, aromatherapy. Lavender. Lavender is probably one of the scents that you can see and smell all the time in stores. You can get a candle. That aromatherapy really does help to relax the muscles. It helps to help with your central nervous system. And then meditation. Meditation is going into a little bit more of a deeper consciousness or guidedness. And so you can sit or lie comfortably. You may even want to invest in a meditation chair or cushion. I've seen people do that. You can just go ahead and get a pillow. Close your eyes. Make no effort to control the breath. Simply breathe naturally. Focus on the tension of your breath and how your body moves with each inhalation and exhalation. You can try this for 3 to 5 minutes, or you can try more. And there's plenty of places on maybe YouTube or places that you can get some guided support during this. And last but not least, guided visualization. That's where the imagery saying, like if you were at the beach, or maybe you were watching the sunrise, those simple imageries as you're breathing in and out and just being very mindful and relaxed can again help to release muscles, tension, and if you have that lavender candle, it just adds to all of that. So last but not least, this helps with central nervous system, immune system, and muscular system. So let's do a wellness check, because you've heard my voice for a little bit and I want to hear back from you. How do you get into your rhythm and flow? I want to see how, if it's the 4 to 5 mile walk, I don't know if everybody can do that, but if you're not able to do a 4 or 5 mile walk, what else are you doing to get in your zone or to get your movement going? I'm sure there's some really great techniques out there. All right, we're going to continue on with this. So healthy diet. Diet is so important right now because we're thinking about how so many people have changed their diet due to the changes of our world and society. And so just be mindful that you're not taking in a lot of sugar, caffeine, salt, and nicotine. Based on stress and anxiety, we may push to those things, such as alcohol. Alcohol has a lot of sugar in it, pushing to coffee, or maybe the diet that we're eating more because of the preservatives, or we're looking at non-perishables. We're not really eating the fresh food, and that's not good. We should definitely make sure we're taking time for that. So how to support healthy eating habits? Be aware of how much you're eating a day. Increase fresh foods. So make sure that when you go to the grocery store, don't make a beeline to the preservatives all the time, or the other produce. Look for apples, oranges, look for some vegetables, some salad. Make sure you're getting those greens in your life. So make sure you continue to do that. Monitor calorie intake, right? Because our movement is less, so we're not burning as much. Drink room temperature water. The purpose of that is when you drink room temperature water, your body feels less thirsty afterwards. So making sure that you get that in. Calming teas, that's chamomile tea or some other mint tea that could be very calming and helpful to drink tea at this time. Not a lot of sugar in there, maybe a little bit of honey. What you put in your gut has a major impact on you. So just be mindful of that. What you put in your gut has a major impact on your mood and how you feel. So thinking about a healthy diet, it helps with immune system, central nervous system, and the digestive system. So Michelle, any thoughts about movement and flow in your life, or any movement and flow from the room?
well, Brandy did share something that helps her to with meditation and mindfulness was using the insight timer.
Okay, nice insight timer. I like that, and it sounds like that's something that just helps to kind of keep that flow and that movement going. And what about you, Michelle?
So I do yoga. So I just put my mat out in the morning, and if the weather's nicer, I can go outside. But even finding videos of chair yoga, a lot of us are working from home and might be doing a lot more virtual meetings than we're used to. So I think just remembering to stretch the body and, whether that's 45 minutes being on task and then 15 minutes of stretching and movement has been a good ratio for me.
Very nice, and thank you for sharing that, just your ratio, because I think people are still trying to balance out a ratio of how do I move, how do I sit, how do I work, how do I break, and so I think that's a good way of thinking about it. So going into the last stretch, we're going to talk about the social and emotional health. So make sure that you reduce times with electronics. So like after this webinar, maybe you should jump off the electronics for the evening, or just reduce it. It doesn't have to be totally off, but be mindful that our lives have changed, and some people are staying up later to like 2 or 3 in the morning watching all the shows they want to catch up on. But that in itself is not as healthy as people think. So be mindful of that. Intimacy. Think about your intimacy, your level of intimacy with your intimate partner. Think about what that looks like for you, look like for other people in your life. We don't talk about intimacy as much, but intimacy is a wide spectrum of things. But think about your intimacy. It's very important at this time. We are human beings where we enjoy intimacy, and it's a part of our lives. Increase time with family, loved ones, friends, pets, or self. I think that's been stated throughout a lot of webinars and conversations, but really be mindful about that. Also, think about your pet. Take some time with your pet, like walk your pet, get out with your pet, hug your pet, love your pet. Our animals need our love as well. Keep your work hours between 9 and 5. So that just means that for a lot of people, because the work hours are not as defined because of the physical workspaces, that we may stay on longer, or because we're not as focused, we're saying, oh, I just need to catch up on a couple of hours that I didn't do. But at the same time, keep that between 9 and 5. Create a relaxing home environment. Not all space is for work. I talked to some of my clients, and they designate a specific space for work, which allows for them to have the entire rest of their house or apartment, wherever they're located, for Zen and being happy in those other spaces. So I put on here busy because you said yes. For some of us, we have become more busy during this time because we feel like I need to fill up my time, and that's not always the case. So what we do is like, oh, I'll go to that meeting, or I'll go to this happy hour, or I'll sit in this lunch virtually. And sometimes you just have to say no and say, you know what, I don't want to do that. I just need some me time. All right. So reduce unwanted commitments, guard your time, guard your mind, and guard your energy. And all those are equally important. Make time for space, or space will make time for itself. What I found in the beginning weeks of me kind of going into this grief and loss process, going into this process of COVID-19, I gave myself 2 weeks, really giving myself the space of 2 weeks. And when I did that, I found myself less and less trying to look for spaces to process. What I find other people is when they did not give themselves or their mind the space to just break, do mindless behavior, come into ease on what this is, they're still processing, which makes sense. But at the same time, if you make space for something, you will process it in a way that is whole and healthy. If you don't make the space for something, your mind will continue to try to process that. So talk to others about me time, your me time for you. Think about family time. If you need to talk to your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your parents, make some family time, or make some family time within your own household. That's also important. As much as saying like, hey, I need my grace, and you could have a family of 4 or 5 people, but you need some moments in your own room just to have your own space. That's really important, as well as you give grace and space to other people. Last but not least, create a space for or time for fun, peace, quiet, or intimacy. All those are important, and each one of those help with the central nervous system, the immune system. So last but not least, I just want to give you 5 tips to address anxiety and stress. Connect with nature. So go outside, take a moment, even if that means you're standing on your porch or your patio, if that means standing in front of your apartment complex, if that means that you go and find some grass that you can stand on for a second, connect with nature. Eat fresh foods, eat healthy. During this time, we have to be mindful of our eating. We don't want to gain that 20 or 30 pounds and go back to work. And your coworkers are like, who are you? You want to go back healthy and be in a great space. Drink plenty of water. So eight cups of 8 ounces. So think about that, 8 cups of 8 ounces. This is probably a great time to really practice drinking your water. Start off early in the morning, do some mid-afternoon, kind of taper off as you get closer to the evening so that your body is processing the water out by this time. Rest, make sure you relax and sleep well. Ways you can do that is if you're exercising, if that's movement, if that's tuning down or turning down the electronics, that's going to help you rest and sleep well as you get closer to your evening. Take a nap if you need to. That's totally fine. It's helping the immune system to recharge. Last but not least, movement. Walk, exercise, or dance. Those kinds of movements, when we talk about movement and flow, really help to deal with anxiety and stress. In the end, all this helps with total well-being. It helps with the immune system, central nervous system, muscular system, and digestive system. If we're thinking about ways to reduce anxiety and stress, every tip that we talked about helps with that, and it helps with the different parts of our bodies. So be mindful of your body and how it's experiencing this time. Also be mindful about how you socially and emotionally are processing through this time as well. And that can all be healthy for us and for others around us.
And Dr. Span, while you're on that slide, I just wanted to share with you some of the comments in the chat. Separating time out in my day where I leave my phone/computer in the other room, which I think is great.
Yes.
A great habit to really unplug from the electronics and the news and step away. Also, Beautiful Chorus has great meditation on there, yoga. And then trap yoga is fun, and afternoon walks. So there's some suggestions for movement, music, meditation, and unplugging, I think is what is the consensus of the chat.
Yes, unplug and go out and have some fun, relax, de-stress. Allow your body to relax, allow your body to stabilize in a place of homeostasis, which is challenging during these times, but we do not want to destroy our bodies because of what's going on around us. We want to keep it whole so that we can operate in joy, live with power, and be present to everything that's going on. All right, so this is it. I just want to say we do have some additional resources. So if you are looking for maybe a wellness call, we can give you a call. Just register online at henry-health.com/coping with COVID-19. That'll allow you to look at those calls. Sign up for that or sign up for a consultation. We'd love to provide consultations for you. We're doing teletherapy right now. Those consultations are free. The teletherapy is at $50 per session. That's for anybody on this call that's in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Anybody that would like to sign up for teletherapy, we're here for you. We have an infographic, and we're sharing this right now at the henry-health.com/coping with COVID-19. And then we will have additional webinars, so we hope that you do sign up, register for them, look out for them. I think this was a great webinar today, and I want to say thank you all for being present and being with us. Does anybody have any questions or concerns as we come to an end? And we'll give a little time to see if there's anything. If not, we'll come to a close. Give a couple of seconds. Well, on that note, I want to say thank you for being present as I still watch the chat if anybody pops up. Good question. Are you able to do group sessions? That is something that we're looking to do in the immediate future. So thank you, Brandy, for asking that. However, even the group sessions are for those in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, just because we're practicing, making sure that we're doing the right thing about that. But outside of that, that is a really great question, and thank you for asking that. Are there any other questions?